Hey everyone, welcome to our digital study session. Today, we're really going to dig into what is, for a lot of people, the toughest part of the LSAT, reading comprehension. We're going to walk through the core strategies from our prep material, the stuff that turns these super confusing passages into actual points on the board. So, if you're ready to really get a handle on this section, let's jump right in. So here's our game plan. First, we're going to nail the big picture. This is the foundation for absolutely everything. Then, we'll become experts at spotting the common traps the LSAT loves to set. After that, we'll level up with some more advanced techniques, see how they apply across the entire section, and then we'll put it all to the test with a little practice run. Sound good? Let's do this. Okay, first things first, the big picture. Seriously, this is the bedrock of the whole section. If you can't figure out what a passage is about and why the author even bothered to write it, you're already playing from behind. So let's break down how to get this right every single time.
On this slide, you see the two pillars of every single passage. You've got the main idea, which is just what the author is saying, their main point. But then you have the primary purpose, and that's all about why they're saying it. Are they arguing a point, just explaining something, trying to tear down someone else's idea? The key here is separating the content from the intent. That's really the first big step to unlocking any question.
So how do we actually find them? Well, this slide basically lays out your toolkit. The first and last paragraphs are usually your best friends. They're like anchors for the main idea. For the purpose, you got to look at the structure and the tone. And pay attention to this last point, mentally summarizing the what and the why before you even peek at the questions. This one habit, I'm telling you, is a game changer. It forces you to have your own take first, which makes you practically immune to those tricky wrong answers. All right, so now that we know what to look for, let's talk about what to avoid. The LSAT is absolutely infamous for its traps. These are answer choices that are meticulously designed to look right, but they're just wrong. Being able to spot them is just as critical as finding the right answer.
And here it is, maybe the most common trap of them all, the true but irrelevant answer. This one's so sneaky because it's a statement that is technically correct based on the passage. It feels right. But here's the thing, it's just a random detail, not the main point. And this just perfectly shows how the LSAT is testing your comprehension, not just your memory.
In this quote from our source material just nails the psychology behind it. You see a familiar fact, your brain goes, oh, I remember that, and you want to pick it. But the LSAT is not a memory test, it's a reasoning test. You always have to ask, how does this fact connect back to the author's main argument?
So, how do you defend against it? It's actually a pretty simple but powerful question. For every single answer choice, you have to ask yourself, does this sum up the overall point of the passage, or is it just one little piece? If it's just a piece, you know it's a trap. Toss it.
Okay, next up is the distortion trap, and this one is way more subtle. It takes what the author actually said and just twists it, just enough to be wrong. A classic example is when it takes a cautious phrase like, some studies suggest, and turns it into an absolute claim like, science is proven. That is a massive red flag on the LSAT.
And here's a perfect example of how that works. You can see the passage is balanced. It says some benefits, but also risks. The trap answer completely ignores that nuance and makes this absolute claim that the policy is entirely beneficial. That is a textbook distortion. And here are three other big offenders you've got to watch out for. First, be super skeptical of extreme words like always, never, or all. Second, make sure every single part of the answer is actually in the text. No outside information. And finally, and this is huge, remember that an answer that's only half right is 100% wrong. No partial credit here.
Okay, so we know how to find the main point. We know how to avoid the biggest traps. It's time to level up. This section is all about shifting from defense to offense, about proactively breaking down even the most ridiculously dense passages.
The first advanced technique is what we call mapping the structure. As you read, don't just passively absorb the words. Actively think about what each paragraph is doing. Is this paragraph giving me background? Is it presenting evidence? Is it shooting down a counterargument? By making a quick mental or physical note of each paragraph job, you're literally building a roadmap of the argument in real time. That way, you never get lost. And beyond just mapping, these are the skills that really define the top-tier readers. You've got to be on the lookout for transition words like however that signal a big shift. You need to analyze word choice to get a feel for the author's tone. Are they being neutral, or are they clearly trying to sell you on something? And sometimes the main point isn't even stated outright. You have to put the pieces together from all the evidence they give you. Now you might be thinking these big picture skills are only for main idea questions, but that's not it at all. They're the foundation for everything. Let's take a look at how this same way of thinking helps us crush other common question types.
This slide should look a little familiar, right? It's just like the main idea versus primary purpose split we talked about earlier. We have a similar thing going on with inference versus implication. An inference is something that must be true based on the text. It's pure logic. An implication, on the other hand, is what the author is kind of hinting at, maybe through their tone or word choice. It's what's strongly suggested, but not something you can prove with 100% certainty.
And what about those detail questions, the ones that start with according to the passage? Okay, these are not about big picture thinking. This is a test of discipline. Your job here is to be a detective. Find the specific sentence in the passage that answers the question, and then find the answer choice that says the exact same thing, just in different words. No assumptions, no outside knowledge, period.
All right, we have covered a ton of theory, but theory is one thing, practice is another. It's time to actually apply this stuff. Let's work through a short passage and see all these strategies in action.
Okay, I'll read this one out loud for us. In recent years, urban planners have debated the impact of green spaces on community well-being. A recent study noted that neighborhoods with more green areas reported lower levels of stress and stronger social cohesion. However, critics caution that simply adding parks without addressing issues of accessibility may fail to achieve these benefits. And here's our first question, a classic detail-oriented one. It's asking what the passage reported as a benefit. Take a quick second and see if you can pinpoint the exact line in the text.
And there it is. The answer is C. The passage says almost word for word that these neighborhoods reported lower levels of stress and stronger social cohesion. It's a direct match. The other choices might be true about parks in the real world, but they are not mentioned in this specific passage, and that's all that matters. Okay, let's try one more. This is a specific reference question. It's asking about the word accessibility, specifically in the context of what the critics are worried about. What do you think they mean by that?
The correct answer here is B. The logic of that last sentence is the key. The critics are saying that just having a park isn't enough. You also have to address accessibility to get the benefits. That strongly implies that people need to be able to actually get to and use the park. It's all about understanding the word within its specific context in the argument.
And that really brings us to the heart of it all. What's the big takeaway from our session today? Every single strategy, every trap we've talked about, it all boils down to this one idea. The LSAT isn't really testing how fast you can read. It's testing your ability to read with a lawyer's precision, with that intense analytical focus. So, the real question is, are you ready to start thinking like one?